Howdy everyone. Got a new product here. Pretty excited to release. We've been working on it for a while. It's actually a headlight. And I'll show you how easy it is to put this on there. When it comes to you, it'll look like this. When you open it up, you're greeted with it in there. And then down in this little pocket, there's mounting hardware. So we got two different length bolts. They're 5/16 24 bolts, and then a split washer for you to mount to a couple different size thickness things. So right now this headlight's hardwired right into the housing. With those terminals on the back of ours, you can just crimp any one of these ring terminals onto the end of the wire and then screw this right in. So honestly, what I'm gonna do is just make sure the power's off to the bike and then just cut this wire that's on here off. And then now we can just crimp a ring terminal right to that, change out this headlight and screw that terminal onto the back of the housing, and then you're good to go. On the back of ours, we have H and L underneath the two terminals. That's high beam and low beam. If you run it in just high beam all the time, you will be blinding people, just so you know. It's an actual high beam, so it's gonna be blinding people. We would say you should strongly recommend that you run in low beam and only turn high beam when you need it. But we're only running one wire on this bike, so we're just gonna put it right on the low beam. So I'm just gonna unscrew this terminal, and then you can see that brass terminal that goes through the housing. So we'll put this on, crimp on that terminal, put it on there, screw it in, and that's it. That's the whole install process, just that. So this is the shorter screw and split washer that comes with the headlight. It works nice for this like 1/8 inch laser cut bracket we're using. And then you just drop it right on there, thread that in, snug that up. Once we put that ring terminal on there, that's honestly the extent of what it takes to install one of these. All right, I'm gonna put the terminal on the end of that wire that we cut, just this little ring terminal guy, and then screw it in, then we're good to go. If you're using non-insulated terminals like these ones are without the boot, and honestly, even if you are, you should make sure you put heat shrink on there. The last thing you want is a loose wire, because this will have power, touching this housing. These are actually the exact terminals that come in our electrical kit. Take this ring terminal, stick that on there, give it a good crimp, slip this heat shrink back over. I'm trying to make sure just that terminal is exposed and not anything on this backside that could touch the housing. So we'll put some heat on that and shrink that up. I'm gonna take that screw we took out earlier and just stick it through the terminal we just crimped on and press it up against that low beam. So just kind of loosely got it on there. I like to hold it straight. We put notches to keep the terminal from spinning. So just kind of rest it in that notch and screw that in, and you are wired. That is it. That's all it takes. Like I said, we're only running one wire to the low beam right now, but you could run two, and honestly, you should run two because it's a really nice low beam and high beam. Or if you want, you could run high beam all the time, but again, we don't recommend doing that. You're gonna be blinding people like crazy. So it's really important that you aim your headlight so the low beam's going the right way, not blinding oncoming traffic, and your high beam is where it should be on the horizon to make best use of the light. So right now we'll walk through the steps of what it takes to aim your headlight. It's a really pretty simple process. All you'll really need tools-wise is some painter's tape, blue painter's tape, whatever, something to mark the wall, a tape measure to measure how high your headlight is off the ground, and then a flat wall in a dark space with some distance behind you, about 30 feet. That's really all you need to aim your headlight. So we'll go through those steps right now. We're just in an old abandoned warehouse right now, but you could totally just do this in your garage. First step is pushing your bike up against the wall, getting it as close to upright as you can. Perfectly upright would be ideal, but we just have it on a kickstand and it'll still be fine. And then grabbing a tape measure and measuring from the ground to the middle of the headlight. And this one on this bike is 36 inches, right about. So we'll use that measurement to put a mark on the wall for when we're aiming it. So now that you got that 36-inch measurement, whatever yours is gonna be, your bike's gonna be different. If you've got a long front end, if you got a tall bike, if you got a short bike, whatever, it's gonna vary. But ours is 36 inches. So I just got a piece of painter's tape. I put my tape measure up against the wall, and 36 inches is right about there. So I'm just gonna put a piece of tape on the wall to mark, that's 36 inches. So now that we got that tape mark on the wall, that's the 36-inch mark from the ground to the middle of the headlight. We'll just turn this on real quick so you can kind of see. That's the cutoff line, which so far this looks like it's aimed pretty well already, because that cutoff isn't like way up above our mark or way below our mark. You kind of want it to be right about there. You can see that harsh kind of cutoff line of this headlight. But it's important to back the bike up because any measurement really close will look fine. It's important to push the bike back. So now that we got our mark on the wall that we're aiming for and we know where we're trying to get it, we're just gonna back up the bike 25 feet. 25 around there, plus or minus a couple of feet, it's gonna be okay. And honestly, you can already start to see as we're pushing this back that we weren't really aimed as well as we thought because we're starting to get a little bit above that blue mark on the wall. So we're about 25 feet, maybe a little bit more. And you'll definitely want to keep the bike upright when you're doing this because you can see if I put this down on the kickstand, it's gonna lean pretty heavily and it's really tough to aim it like that. So now it's pretty important to keep it upright as straight as you can, like it will be when you're riding. You can see our blue mark on the wall, and obviously that would be way too low. You're not gonna get any light where you want it to. And then this would be way too high. You'd be blinding all the cars that are coming at you. And your high beam would be pretty useless because it'd be shooting up above the horizon. So take that line and just grab the headlight, just aim it down. That looks pretty good. That line is right on the blue tape mark. So at here, you would just snug this down real tight just so it can't shake loose. And then that would be your aiming. Now you know you're aimed. And we'll show you, that's low beam. High beam then is right where you want it, so that if you're driving on a country road, this will be shooting directly in front of you as far as it possibly can, kind of covering the whole road. That's all it takes to put one of these on and wire it up. It's a really nice light, we're really proud of it. It's gonna be a game changer.